Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/beat and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/BEAT. Welcome back to the Classics, the Cinematic Movie Podcast. That takes you back to the iconic films of 20 years ago on the Big Three, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. I am your guy, Jay Alonso. With me, of course, is...
Danger Neff, David Danger Neff. We are hitting up one of the most iconic movies of the 21st century to really kick off the 2000s. This movie had such a major impact into how the rest of the 2000s kind of stood out. I mean, really, this went all the way until basically superhero movies came into a thing. So I'm excited.
This was like the ideal movie of the 2000s. You know, as far as like 2000, the year, it was something that kind of came out of nowhere, and it was just met with so much like just positive feedback leading all the way up to Oscars. But we'll get to that in a second. This is our third episode now via quarantine. I haven't seen Dave in well over a month, if not a little longer at this point.
Pretty close to, it's a little over a month now for sure.
Yeah. And, how you holding up?
I mean, we're on level 5 of Jumanji here, so Murder Hornet.
Yeah, very close. I actually just seen
about this huge world-breaking thunderstorm that's about to hit the East Coast, and I really think that the caldera over at Yellowstone is next. So
yeah, I think 2020 is playing an incredible game of Jumanji right now. Like, we're not stopping. We're going all the way.
Which is a little hilarious because, all right, you remember when 2012 happened and the world was supposed to end December 21st, 2012?
Mm.
I remember in February of the following year, which was 2013, there was like this huge meteor that like came down and actually struck Russia.
Mm.
And I sat there afterwards and I was like, you know what, Mayans? 6 weeks off is not a bad thing.
It's not too bad, you know what I'm saying? But I love the fact that we had to tell them like 2012 was going to be it. They said like 2012 was going to be it. Like 2012 will be the year that we're no longer exist. Meanwhile, 2020 is like, shit. Like, I got a surprise for you.
Did you see this tweet from this guy? I was cracking up at this. This guy was like, I'm a time traveler. He's like, I'm a time traveler. And this was literally on like New Year's Eve 2015. He goes, 2016 is pretty much the last good year we're going to have. It's going to be pretty rough for a little while. He literally like responded. He was like, this really did not age well.
No, not at all. Not at all. Also, I wanted to shout out before we got on the air today. I ordered a pizza from Pizza Hut and I had it delivered. And shout out to the delivery guy who brought the pizza because I answered the door with my laptop in hand because I was watching the movie that we're covering today. I answered the door with my laptop in hand, and of course, there's a sticker on my laptop that says Beat Network. So I open the door, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're a fan of Beat too?" And I paused for a second. I was like, "Well, I mean, I am Beat. You know, I'm a part of Beat." And he goes, "Really? What do you do?" I'm like, "Well,
what do you do?
What do you do?" I said, "Obviously, you're a fan. You must have heard of the show Back to the Classics." And this was the exact reaction. Oh, yeah. I'm Jay Alonso. Bullshit. He didn't believe I was who I said I was. Mind you, on the receipt for the pizza that I ordered, it says Jay Alonso. So, long story short, I said, "No, man, I'm Jay Alonso. You know, Back to the Classics. Turn my mic up. 2 Minute Drill Live. Like that's me." And he didn't believe me. Well, that's cool, bro. Gave my pizza, like walked off. I'm like, okay, cool.
What a flex from you, Jay. You were just like,
It's, it was it was it was
you
it was
know,
a cool flex. It was a weird flex, and I don't believe the flex was fully earned. But nevertheless, though, it was a flex, and I'm like, oh well. I mean, he didn't believe I was who I said I was. But shout out to Dwayne, the pizza man from Pizza Hut. Pretty dope. And also, shout out to everybody who tuned in to 2 Minute Drill Live, the pilot episode.
that was a lot of fun.
That was a blast.
I was cracking up because, as you guys know, I wrote a good portion of these questions that we would utilize. And I was cracking up the minute that. So my sister. So for those of you who don't know, spoiler alert: 2 Minute Drill happened. My sister wound up winning.
She won the show. Mm-hmm.
So, but I was cracking up because, of course, the random wheel would give her. It would sit there and give her scary movies, and I don't know if you could hear me, but I was dying downstairs. I was like, this is literally the absolute worst category to give her. But hey, shout out to Anika.
I was going to mention that because
I'm so proud of her. I can't believe she made it to the finals.
Yes. I thought it was so cool because when by the time we got to hers and it landed on Disney, I said, "Oh, she's about to fuck this up. She's gonna eat. She's getting ready to eat." So I thought it was so cool, man.
But then I felt so bad for Mark because he got the Oscar category, and I was sitting there like, oh, nobody's gonna get this right. I was like, but then I got mad at him. I literally got mad at him. I was like, bro, Halle Berry. Berry.
No, listen. Shout out to everybody who did the comments on the show too, because that was like the main thing. Like, bro, when he answered the Monsters Ball question, he was like, "Monsters Ball."
He was like,
that
was his first answer.
You knew it. Bring it back to fucking forget it. But long story short, though, we had some technical difficulties. We had some audio issues, some visual issues, but above all else, we had a fucking blast. For it to be the first episode, we are working up the kinks. I assume we will announce a season 1 premiere date soon. But once again, though, thanks to everybody, the contestants, Anika, Mark, and of course our winner, Gwen, who participated in the show, everybody who tuned in on both Facebook and on YouTube. We had a great time considering what all took place with the production. It was all positive feedback from there, man. And people have now hit me up like, bro, how can I be on this show? That's been the reoccurring question now. So if that's the case, we'll keep it going for sure. So definitely stay tuned for the official first season premiere day, which will come sooner than you think. So 2 Minute Drill Live, in my opinion, was a success. Now, you watched it from home, and you made sure you wasn't in the same room as Gwen, being her brother and all. How did you take it?
So hold on. I was not in the same room. I was downstairs because I didn't want this to be like, all right, it always sounds bad because I'm already admitting that I was in the same house. But no, I was not helping my sister out in terms of trying to figure out these answers or whatnot. Even though I was the writer of these questions, like I don't believe in doing that. What I saw from the production that I really enjoyed was this whole, there was a lot that that I thought turned into a major positive. There was obviously some technical difficulties. That was probably the only real part. I really like the flow of it. Obviously, look, here's the bottom line. There's always going to be some form of kinks when we're all streaming from 5 different spots,
Right.
And we have to, give a special shout out to Los, obviously, for trying to set everything straight and
straight. Oh, yeah. All shout outs go to Los for sure. He was the producer, the director. He was doing everything. All I had to do was just talk to the people. So
right. And of course, special shout out to you because you really did well hosting everything. You absolutely knocked it out the park. So I know
Thank
it's a pretty great product. As you can tell, we've been a little bit more active on our social media because of this. So if you are interested in signing up, please make sure that when we begin to really start posting this stuff, make sure you're following us at our IGs. Make sure you're following our Facebook page, our Facebook group, anything and everywhere that you can basically find Beat Network. You're going to be able. You're an extension away from us in that case. So make sure you're following if you're interested in signing up, or if you want to know more about our shows. BeatNetworkOnline.com, BTTC podcast. All those things. You can find everything related to 2 Minute Drill, as well as our shows, Reel It Back, everything that we possibly do to bring you your entertainment. But
you're looking kind of slim over there, buddy.
I'm losing a little bit of weight. Yeah.
What's going on, Bucko? You look a little slim over there, bro.
So I kind of. I'm not eating out, which is a big thing. But
I just fucking order pizza.
The other thing I've been doing some at home workouts. Other thing I'm doing is kind of I've been saving money like crazy, bro. Like right. Oh my god, I'm so happy with how much in savings I
right. Have. Yeah, same here.
I'm like, please don't open this state back up because that's just temptation island.
Because right now I'm rich. Right now I'm good.
I'm like sitting here and I'm like calculating when I could pay off my student loan. I was like, well, shit, man. If I don't go back to work and I'm getting this extra $600 from unemployment, I'm talking August. I'm talking August with no interest rate and whatnot. Just start my own little podcast about financial planning, and then you guys can all listen and sign up with me or whatever.
Oh, keep it in your pocket with Dave Neff.
Keep it in. There you go. Keep it in your pocket with Dave Neff.
Dave Neff. I listen shit. Like, Dave, I'm hurting, bro.
So movie news wise, though, the only real thing that's out there is this crazy suggestion that's being done of Tom Cruise hooking up with Elon Musk to do a movie strictly filmed in space. And have we reached the epitome of white privilege?
Yeah. Now, this is, to me, I wouldn't call it white privilege. I would say it's like white Hollywood privilege, because you take the two. You take the idea of Tom Cruise linking up with Elon Musk in SpaceX for them to shoot a movie. They say it's primarily shot in space, but I'm pretty sure that there will be some shot on the ground. But it is what it is. But let's say Tom Cruise approached Elon Musk about doing a movie in space. But then let's also say, in the same sentence, Idris Elba approached Elon Musk to do a movie in space. Pretty sure the one that'll likely get done much faster will be a Tom Cruise. But on the flip side to that, though, if there was going to be an actor with enough clout to convince a studio, convince a organization to let's shoot a movie in space, it's going to be fucking Tom Cruise. Let's be honest.
Of course.
Now, they didn't clarify whether this is going to be a Mission Impossible movie, whether it's other Mission Impossible 8 or whatever. They just know there's going to be an action adventure shot in space. So, if anybody's going to do it, it's Tom Cruise, man.
Absolutely. It's rather. I'm really interested to see how they would be able to pull this off, because obviously, when it comes to that sort of community, Elon definitely has some pull. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is going to be exactly what we're all looking for, but it could really turn into something incredibly special as well. That being said, though, you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. So I don't know what's all going to happen. The interesting thing is that if they decide to like bring in, I don't know what kind of movie we're talking about here. Is this going to be like an Ad Astra, or is this going to be like a full-on action sequence? Because to even think about producing something like that, you got to force a budget, And the only way that they would possibly allow something is if it's at a space station. If it's at a space station, then maybe ISS, but that's not governed by the United States. You know?
Well, what we do know is that it's being handled. Like there's been talks with a collaboration of both of Elon Musk and SpaceX, Tom Cruise, and now NASA's now involved as well. So this has been something that's been working on for quite some time. But to know that the three key players in this whole situation is Tom Cruise, SpaceX with Elon Musk, and now NASA. So whatever they're working on appears to be big. I would assume whatever they're working on, Cruise is going to be some sort of astronaut or space cop or some shit. But it's space driven, space related. That's all we really know.
Right. So I'm curious because there was a tweet by what's his name, NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine, and he did announce this, and it doesn't. I don't want to say that it doesn't sound like a movie, but I'm wondering if this is going to be. I don't know what this is going to be because the idea is that they're looking for popular media to inspire new generation of engineers and scientists, and it's not a bad way to go involving Elon Musk, involving Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is still seriously popular. They are involving the space station, which is interesting. I mean, the space. to put it to you in a way, it's actually not that the space station isn't that far away from Earth. It's actually shorter than in distance from San Francisco to LA. Like it's really not that far, but it's still one of those things that I don't 100% know what it could be. I'm almost curious if it's going to be like almost a PSA, where it's going to be like, okay, this is what we have, this is what we're doing with this, and kind of go from there. But that's just my opinion.
So, today's movie, I think that the movie that we're doing today, I really do feel like has aged quite well. Now this is my first time watching it in well over maybe 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Like I don't watch it as often as I'd like to, but with that being said, I didn't realize that this movie was this damn long. It's a long movie. But
definitely good length, But it definitely has one of the most iconic lines ever that I always think about with Hollywood. With "Have you not been entertained? Have you
not entertained? Is that why you're here?" We're talking about Gladiator, baby. Original release date May 1st of 2000. Shares opening weekend with "I Dreamed of Africa" with Kim Basinger, Michael Jordan to the max, and Up at the Villa.
That is not the person I would think that would make a movie called "I Dream of Africa." Kim Basinger. Blonde hair, white skin, blue eye, Kim Basinger.
And she's not naked in it at all.
Oh.
At all. No nipple shots, no nothing. Production budget, $103 million, with a box office total of $460.5 million, 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, winner of 5 Oscars. Best Picture, Best Actor,
and Best Cinematography.
Best Costume Design, and Best Sound. So
and there's a lot to kind of talk about with this movie, but before really diving into it, I kind of want to talk about the legacy of this thing. So this movie really was like a brainchild that was really made, inspired from the 1950s gladiator movies of old, from Spartacus to Ben-Hur to even the Ten Commandments. There was always like these action. There was always these action movies, and the writer of this, who's Dave Franzoni, was so big into this stuff. He was also the writer of Steven Spielberg's Amistad. Was so big into this that he was influenced literally by like the fall of the Roman Empire, and it was the second. And this movie became the second highest grossing movie of all of the year, and it was a huge winner in the Oscars, obviously. Now, with this movie, though, you got to think of like where the epics of this came from. Now, this was obviously inspired probably first from Braveheart, right? I think we can agree with that. But this movie by itself inspired movies like The Kingdom, Troy, Alexander, Pathfinder, the movie 300, The Last Legion, Beowulf, It would later keep going with like Centurion, the remake of the Clash of the Titans, the Eagle, the TV series Rome, the TV series Spartacus. This movie had such a major influence that I'm literally talking about close to the next 10 years of media that would just talk about, sword, guts, and glory of this. And really, this movie takes a lot of that into heart and really tries to turn this into something that it even inspired like Star Wars, like Attack of the Clones totally has a gladiator style combat, smack dab in the last scene of it. So
I can totally agree that I feel like it is kind of almost oh no, it didn't almost, it did. It reinvented the swords and sandals genre, if you will. For something that like you mentioned, the old Spartacus, the old Clash of the Titans, those movies of yesteryear, are inspired to make this movie, and then this movie went off to inspire so much other things, like the new Spartacus and things of that nature. But I remember at that time when Gladiator first came out, there was nothing like it.
no,
It was nothing like it. This was really Scott's baby.
the closest thing that we had to it at the time was Braveheart. But even Braveheart was one of those movies that Braveheart, everybody kind of looks at it as the fake Mel Gibson movie. It's like this is the least Mel Gibson that you'll ever see, and yet he wound up like winning an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
This movie also inspires the idea of basically of the best way I could describe it, the King Joffreys, right? This is King Joffrey was inspired by Commodus as like the corrupt emperor king who would go and try to overextend his hand and would continue to do really drastic and kind of horrible things, and really show no remorse over this. Although I do think that a character like Commodus is a little bit more. I think people kind of see him as there is something a little bit more relatable. But man, I mean, this is even loved by our president. Our president loves the movie Gladiator, so take that, whatever you want to
take that for what it's worth.
And to be honest, like this movie really hit on the casting correctly. From Proximo as Oliver Reed to Connie Nielsen to this was a lot of people's introduction to Joaquin Phoenix, and this was really at the pinnacle of Russell Crowe becoming really Russell Crowe. Like, yes, Russell Crowe, we have talked about him before with like movies like LA Confidential and whatnot. But I think everybody who ever sees Russell Crowe in something, they immediately say, "Oh, the guy from Gladiator." And it's like, yeah, because Maximus was that well written.
The fact that you hit it with the snaps, everybody does that too. But even when you snap like 8 times, like, Gladiator. You're from Gladiator. Yeah, absolutely. Nobody says virtuosity ever.
No, nobody thinks of virtuosity. Nobody thinks of LA Confidential, and I think LA Confidential is a much better movie than this. But
I can agree. I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm. But it's also, at the same time, like this is what when people think of Russell Crowe, they think of Maximus. They think of how awesome he is. And this movie really kicks off right at the end of the Roman Empire reign, where it looks like peace is finally going to be involved as they come and face a German barbarian army. It's literally like the last fortress, and Rome knows, like the Roman Empire, was already pretty vast at that point. Not as big as Alexander's, but they conquered stuff all the way up through northern England, like all over Africa and then northern England. Like that's a big ass empire, man.
The one thing about this movie that it immediately caught my attention was the how strong it opens and how strong it builds the character of Maximus. uh, and the difference between how the movie opens as opposed to by the time we finally get the late great Oliver Reed, his character comes in, and it's crazy. I read earlier today as I was watching the movie prepping for the show that Oliver Reed passed away a year before the movie opened, so it means he died halfway through shooting.
So I really want to talk about the death of Oliver Reed because this is obviously really tragic and also epic if you're an alcoholic. Oliver Reed was like one of these guys that he was an alcoholic for all of his life, right? So he was pretty bad. The way he died, though, was pretty epic because he had actually been sober, not necessarily for a long time, but pretty much for most of the filming of this movie. He was sober. How he actually died was, according to the numerous anecdotes that exist, about 37 of his drinking buddies and him drank 60 gallons of beer, 32 bottles of scotch, 17 bottles of gin, 4 crates of wine, and a bottle of Baby Cham. He wound up racking up by himself a bill of $600 in alcohol that he would drink through that sitting. Arm wrestled like 4 guys, right? And I don't know if he won or lost any of those fights, but arm wrestled 4 guys. And as he finishes last one, he dies of a heart attack. I'm not laughing at a guy's death to laugh at it.
But if you're going to go out,
pretty amazing.
If you're going to go out, there are people who to go out. I'm just saying.
Oh, man. This movie really kicks off. Obviously, the General Maximus Decimus Meridius is intending to return home after he leads his Roman army to victory against the Germanic tribes near Vindobona on the Lanes of Germanicus, right? At the time, the emperor at the time was Marcus Aurelius, who was a very, very well-known Roman emperor. And this battle sequence really starts. They have this really great shot of, like, we sent out a scout. How long has it been since he's been back? They say 2 hours. Cue the horse riding in
with the headless guy, yeah.
This scout. And mind you, it wasn't just like they stayed on the one shot and that was it. No. They followed this horse riding through where all the Roman people are at until he's finally stopped. And you see the German army raise up like his head and you know it's on, right?
Right.
Load the catapults, get the archers to ignite their arrows. We're going to war. And basically plan a strategy where they sandwich this entire German army, and it's a wipeout. It's not even close. And Maximus is so well loved by his crew that they keep cheering his name as this glorious general that's leading his army, which of course is then told by a guy, Marcus Aurelius, that he tells Maximus that his own son Commodus is unfit to rule. Commodus is of course played by Joaquin Phoenix. So obviously,
now real quick, now going back to this opening, the opening fight scene, it's shot beautifully. It's shot so great. Now,
rising up.
Yes, man.
The stove coming down.
They shoot that first arrow on fire, followed by a shitload. Oh my! I'm like, love that shit. It was so dope. It was so cool to me because it was almost like for a brief moment that arrow was a character itself. You don't know where it's gonna land. You just know that when this shit lands, shit's gonna hit the fan. It's gonna be bad for everybody. I love that.
It is. He does now. Marcus Aurelius wishes. Now this is really unheard of, okay? Because most lineage of succession stays in the family, right? So Marcus Aurelius would then pass it down to Commodus. Commodus would pass it down to whatever child he decides to have, so on and so forth. At least in British rule, that's how it's done. In traditional medieval times, that's how it's done. So for him to actually ask Maximus, who has no interest in ruling as a regent, to restore the Roman Empire, Commodus, of course, hears this and he gets obviously upset about this. And Commodus is one of those guys that he's basically born with a spoon in his mouth. Now, that's not to say
A spoiled bitch, as we will call them in
he
modern
is a
day.
spoiled bitch, you know.
Yeah.
But he is played very well by Joaquin Phoenix, because in a way you could kind of get the sense of like, okay, well, now I'm next in line. But everybody was kind of expecting him to kind of, take up this mantle. Aurelius, he wanted the Senate of Rome, which hasn't ruled in a long time, to basically take over. And the main reason why is because he wanted Rome to return to a republic, similar to what we have here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Commodus murders his father, which was always going to happen, and proclaims himself the new emperor, and immediately asks Maximus for his loyalty. Maximus refuses. He's arrested by the praetors, or the Praetorian Guard, and is told that he and his family will die. And this was like this really what kicks off this entire huge vengeance story, because the family, first of all, little boy, I gotta talk about you running towards a stampede of horses saying, "Father." I know you're not expecting your death, but you're also 8 years old. At what point have you ever seen a parade of horses and you decide to run out in the middle of them thinking that's going to be okay? Of course he would obviously die. He gets trampled by the horses.
No problem. Now, when Maximus pulls up to the area where I believe he finds his wife, correct?
So the first thing that happens is that he actually kills his captors, right?
Yes.
And this was badass. Like this whole killing of his captors. He literally calls over the praetor, who's riding on horseback, and they totally, completely Japanese anime this, by having the horse and the sword goes through. Of course, Maximus gets a wound on his shoulder, and he's all bloodied up and whatever. But then he rides to his home, which is near Trujillo, where he finds his home destroyed and his family obviously murdered.
Yeah. Now, he does bury his wife and his son, and then he collapsed from his own injuries. But he gets found by slaves, and they take him to the city of was it Zuccobar?
Yeah, Zuccobar in the Roman province.
Right. Now this is where we meet Oliver Reed. Right. Now knowing the history of Oliver Reed, I'm pretty sure he smelled like brew. He smelled like 90 proof on set often.
Right. Now, but here's the thing. Here's something that I have to really state. Everything that I just explained, like only took us a few minutes. This is a good almost 30 minutes into the movie now, because of how much background story that they're basically telling about this.
That's like 40. I say about 40, 45 minutes of the movie.
Probably. It's not to say that I don't really care for the pacing of this movie. It's just, in some ways, if we know that this was already going to get to this part, was it absolutely necessary, considering that I live in the United States, to learn everything about, the Roman Senate and whatnot? I didn't really think that was absolutely necessary. But I get that.
I don't want to say I disagree, but I feel like this is one of those few movies that tackle this subject matter as far as the Roman Empire and things from that era that really go above and beyond and like fully explaining what's actually taking place. So by the time certain things do happen, all right, so I'm following along just fine. What I will agree with you is I feel like though the pacing, for you was like maybe a half hour, for me like it's a good 45 minutes in. Apparently I watched the extended version of this movie. But by the time you get to that particular part, it explains itself quite thoroughly, perhaps too thoroughly. I definitely agree with that for sure.
Right.
But for a movie of that time, I can't think of a movie better than this to properly explain what's actually going on, so that when certain events do take place that you do expect them to take place, it just makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it was like if we're watching a movie about the LA riots, and they thoroughly explained the Rodney King beating and what Rodney King was drinking on that day, what he wore that day. He got fired a couple of days before that. He had sex with this chick a month ago prior to that. That's overly explaining shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But with this, in hindsight, if you will, there has been a movie better than this to properly explain what's going on at this time. So then when certain events happen, it just falls into place like it's supposed to. It just overly explains things.
Right. It basically it almost talks itself to death a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I have to give credit to Oliver Reed because Proximo comes very close to being that guy in this movie. Because, dude, he's dope. He's just like, I worked my ass off to get out of here. You guys will die for me. Which kind of makes him seem like a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy. This is just
not a bad guy.
This is the economy for him. Like I buy people, and there's an opportunity that you can free yourself. I cannot free you. You became my slave. I bought you legally. Along with my hyenas and queer giraffes and whatever. He's just kind of like this dude that's like, I found a way to get rich. I'm going to stay rich. And you guys will fight for me, but you will have the honor of fighting in gladiator combat.
Now you brought up Amistad. Now obviously Djimon Hounsou is in this movie as well.
Yes.
I believe he's like the only black dude in this entire movie. Actually,
he's the only black dude in this entire movie.
The only black dude in Rome, apparently. But he plays the character. Do you know the character's name?
Juba.
And a confidant to Maximus. They obviously hit it off as partners and whatnot. And also with the relationship between both the Oliver Reed character and Juba, he treats his slaves about the same. Like, I'm not in it to torment and be the slave owner. I'm in it for some money.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when it's time for you to cut loose and do your own thing, I'm allowing you to free yourself. Like you said, I'm allowing you to free yourself.
Right. Which is something that's, in a sense, really honorable. And you get this, and you really get the sense from Proximo that yeah, I'm more about the honor of this because this is your opportunity to make a name for yourself. So not unlike what we kind of see nowadays with, what some mentors would do now. I believe in you and I will give you the tools to succeed, quite literally with Proximo, but it's up to you to really turn that around.
Yeah.
We also get Hagen, who is a German, and the three of them are kind of really close. And basically, with through Maximus' own military skills, he wins over the crowd. And at first, he was disgusted by it. Like, he was just like, I'm not for this. And at one particular scene, he literally comes out by himself and cuts down 7 or 8 guys. I mean, it's not even close. They don't land a blow on him. These guys look like they were all destined to die, right? So they all die, and afterwards he releases the most, one of the most epic lines in this movie. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Is that why you're here?
And once he reveals that, Proximo pulls him inside and it's just like, what are you looking for? Like, what exactly do you want? And then Proximo reveals to him that he was also once a gladiator, and the joy it was to actually work for my freedom that was granted by Marcus Aurelius. And he goes, but the only way that you're going to win your freedom is you have to win the crowd. And I really felt that, because this is in a lot of ways, like, if you look at like boxing and MMA, there's some really good fighters out there, but if you can't get the crowd on your side, you will always be forgotten. You will always, like, somebody will look at your record and they'll be like, oh wow, like, how good, wow, this guy has a better record than, say, Conor McGregor, right? But Conor McGregor also talks the talk like crazy, and he wins people over that way. That's why so many people like the guy.
Right.
They think of Tyson, So because of that, Commodus organizes 150 days of game And Proximo is then proceeded to take the fight into Rome's Colosseum. And I mean, it's glorious. 50,000 people are in the crowds, spending their money, getting drunk, and doing whatever. And he debuts in gladiator combat in the Colosseum as a reenacted of what they call the Battle of Carthage, but it's really the Battle of Zama. And this was probably, in my opinion, the greatest fight in this movie, because this is like everybody's together. You got chariots surrounding this thing, and they don't hold back in terms of the violence whatsoever. Like, everybody's in the standard legion formation with the SBQT on their shoulders, trying to hold the line, hold the fort, and whatnot. And I mean, it's glorious.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this being that first battle in the Colosseum. Not my favorite battle. My favorite battle comes up a little later on, but for this being that first battle that we see during the 150 days of the battles, it's executed perfectly. But really, it's not my favorite battle. It's my favorite moment, but not my favorite battle. My favorite moment comes at the end of this battle. We'll get to that in a second. But as far as my favorite battle, it was way down the way. But to kick off these fights, it's a beautiful battle. It's very well shot.
And this battle leads to people getting pulled off chariots and getting stormed off. The whole huge rotating wheel of death, cutting people in half and whatnot. I mean, it really is glorious when it comes to that. At the end of this, though, of course, the gladiators unexpectedly win, and Commodus enters the Colosseum to offer his congratulations. We also get the introduction to, very briefly beforehand, Lucius. And by the way, Maximus has not actually said who he is yet. He's only going by and referred to as Spaniard, right? Mm-hmm. And he's wearing a helmet in the process, so Commodus doesn't recognize him. So he then orders to disguise Maximus as a leader of the gladiators to show himself and give his name.
Real quick. My favorite moment, not my favorite fight, my favorite moment is this moment right here.
So,
because
it's badass.
It's so badass.
I'm like, mic drop against the president, bro.
Now, what makes this moment so badass is that when he walks over, he goes, "How dare you walk away from me?" And da da da. So he stops, he turns around, takes off the helmet. No, correction. It doesn't turn around yet. He takes off the helmet slowly, and it turns around slowly. And the immediate look on Joaquin Phoenix's face it's almost like his look had a subtitle that said, "Oh fuck." That's exactly what his face said to me. Oh shit.
Because he realizes that there's no point to this, and he gives this beautiful speech. He says, "My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next." Oh, what?
He said, "Ah!"
That's your entrance? Oh my God!
Suck it.
And I gotta give credit to Commodus here, because yes, he does play the coward. He plays the bitch well, but he then shows like how much power he has, because once he gathers his bearings, he immediately holds up his thumb, just like this, and the crowd basically wills it to not have Maximus killed. Right? Holds up the thumb, and he turns it down instead. And it's a badass moment for both people. Obviously, Maximus wins the moment, but man, it is absolutely amazing. So afterwards, Maximus has the next fight against the legendary, undefeated gladiator Tigress of Gaul. And I have to talk.
Tigress of Gaul.
Right. I have to talk really quick about the actor of Tigress of Gaul. Are you familiar with him?
No. I looked it up. I couldn't find anything that I need to know.
So for those who are big into the gym, this is the 1983 World's Strongest Man. Oh my lord, I can't think of his name right now. Sven Ole Thorsen. This guy is known for like always being around, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Franco Colombo, all these guys, and is actually a close friend to him. So it was actually a real shock when he actually came into this because he was just like this guy. He held like a world record at one point. I'm sorry, I said world's strongest. He was Denmark's strongest man in 1983. And I gotta give credit. Like it was a kind of a badass moment to kind of see him here because he comes out in full gladiator garb, right? Shirt off, has the belt, right? Has a lion's head, literally a metal lion's head here. And as they go to basically bow and get ready to fight, he said, again, in a very honorable way, he goes, for you who are about to die, I salute you. And then this fight like begins. This fight's pretty bad.
No. I mentioned earlier that there's another fight that's my favorite fight. This is my favorite fight. Hands down, without a shadow of a doubt, could be my iconic scene. But it's definitely my favorite fight. And the reason why, and one reason only, even though Commodus is a bitch boy, the fact that he hides tigers along the fighting area, and these shits come out of nowhere. I don't know any man with reasonable bowel usage who can store his bowels the way that Maximus can. There's no one fighting this huge ass dude, and you got tigers secretly hidden and shit. No way.
Commodus basically pulls Joe Exotic.
You pull a Joe Exotic on me, bro?
Throws out all these hidden tigers, which is weird to say. Hidden tigers,
Carol Baskin, bitch.
Mind you, the tigers, like, they're nowhere near hitting tigers. One of these dudes literally gets a hold of Maximus, and Maximus somehow gets his sword through the side of the son of a bitch. Yeah. And winds up getting him. Tigris looks. Tigris.
There's a shot also as well that I think before he actually kills off the tiger, there's a wide shot as the tiger, which is still on the chain, by the way. There's a wide shot as he's fighting, and the tiger just barely, like it claws at him, but just barely misses him though.
Right,
man. I can still watch that scene and be like, oh, whoa!
Look, man, if I'm ever going to fight to the death, tigers are going to have to be involved. Tigers are going to have to be involved.
Carol Baskin, bitch. I'm trying to tell you. It's real life.
So, Maximus obviously beats Tigris, right? And it's close for the most part, but Maximus basically stabs him in the foot and then proceeds to basically get the upper hand from there. Commodus, of course, orders Maximus to kill Tigris, but Maximus decides to spare his opponent, and immediately afterwards, there's like some hype man in the crowd. He's just all like, Maximus the Merciful! Everybody like falls into line for it.
Hell yeah! I like that.
Oh yeah, Maximus the Merciful! Like, bro, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna pay hype man, for if I go into gladiator style combat or UFC or whatnot, and I have to like show restraint, for every single time some dude's gotta give me like a new nickname.
Paul the Pigberry!
So of course, because he's called Maximus the Merciful, like Commodus can't do anything to him except he does one thing, and he decides to taunt Maximus about the death of his family. And I'm like, oh man,
with that route, because for such a powerful moment, and the fact that he's winning these fights, you decide to taunt him, and you taunt him in the worst way possible. You decided to approach the death of his wife and his child, which is arguably done by your hands, because you're going to at least get a reaction out of him, but it wasn't the reaction that you would hope you would get.
And I mean, it's such a bitch move, and I gotta applaud like Crow here because, dude, like I don't know if I would have been able to hold off. Like he says, he says, how did he say? He said, they tell me your son squealed like a girl when they nailed him to the cross, and your wife moaned like a whore they ravaged her again and again and again. And I'm like, bro. But then Maximus, like, he's just like, the time for honoring yourself will soon be at an end. Bows his head, Highness. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, you can't shake this guy.
Let me ask you this. Let's say you're a guard of Commodus, right? And Commodus drops that bar on Maximus right then and there. And you know what's taking place, but you also know what Maximus can do. So you're one of the guards, and he says that fuck shit. What do you do as a guard?
I have one of these cases. You calling me out for ravaging your wife?
Sir!
You, sir!
Sir! Personal, little bit.
Why you gotta call me out on my shit? You know, it's been a long war, sir.
I'm your guard, but I'm appalled. That's what I am. I am appalled. I can't believe that. I can't believe you said that. That's the best diss track I've heard this whole system.
Maximus discovers from Cicero, who is his ex-orderly, that his former legions still remain loyal to him. And Lucilla, who's played by Connie Nielsen, and Lucilla is kind of one of these people, we haven't really talked about her, but she's one of these people that she plays the political game well. Like, she knew her place. She knew she couldn't really say anything. But the Senate really likes her, you know. But at the same time, there's only so much there. There's another thing on Commodus that, like, drives me nuts, and it's a little interesting, especially with everything that's going on here. What was the first thing that the Senate said to him when he's at that round table, and or when he's sitting there spinning his little sword because he just became emperor? What was the first thing the Senate said to him? Don't recall. That's okay. They literally say to him, well, there's a plague that has begun to sprout up in the city, and we need to know how you're basically going to handle it. Right. And I'm like, wow, foreshadowing a lot? A plague, you say? And he just, like, straight up ignores it. He's just like, I have no time for these trivials. Like, where were you guys when Marcus Aurelius dies, you know, and whatnot? And I'm like, bro, are you kidding me?
Bro,
are you kidding me?
It's almost like, why y'all do know the fat bitch jumped on me? It's one of those.
I'm like, wow, you can't tell me that doesn't sound exactly like our politics right now. I'm like, no wonder why Trump likes it.
Anyway, but
Lucilla, Commodus' sister, and Gracchus, an influential senator, and Maximus basically meet secretly. And the whole idea of it was that Maximus was going to escape Rome, join his soldiers, topple Commodus by force, which, by the way, Roman armies haven't been back in Rome in over 100 years, hand power back to the Roman Senate. And it just, not that it sounded almost too good to be true, but you kind of get the idea from Maximus that he doesn't have any more drive to his life, so he just wants to give the order back to Rome as it was told to him from Marcus Aurelius, right? So, of course, in the process, Commodus learns of the plot when Lucilla's son, Lucius, basically innocently hints at this conspiracy. Commodus threatens Lucilla and Lucius and has a Praetorian Guard arrest Gracchus, and then all hell basically breaks loose in the gladiator barracks. Basically, everybody died except for Maximus and Juba. You know, and
also they captured Maximus actually when he tries to rendezvous with Cicero, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So they capture him with Cicero, right? And Cicero is obviously killed, right? So in an effort to win back the people's,
a bitch boy move happens. Continue.
Actually, I really disagree with this move from the Emperor. I'm like, why are you trying to win back the people? You've already killed all the gladiators. Mm-hmm. Look, Maximus had some essential power, but bro, like you got to get rid of him at this point. Like you got to find a way to get rid of him. So, but he decides to do something incredibly weird, which is he challenges him to a duel in the Colosseum, and before he does so, he stabs Maximus so that he can gain an advantage. Now,
Bitch boy
we
move.
saw a little bit earlier that Commodus can kind of fight, but this was going to be a nowhere, even an injured Maximus. This was going to be nowhere good. This is actually like the one time that I'm like really, like this is not a good thing to do, like at all.
Like we saw that he can. I mean, he can hold his own, but you know, we'll come down to it.
One-on-one against a street thug. You know what? Maybe I'll put my money on Commodus, right?
But against
but
Maximus,
one-on-one against the dude who beat an undefeated gladiator?
Nah.
I'm good, and you're good also, and you should know this better. So of course, despite his injuries, this fight kind of begins, and it kind of goes very quickly. A couple of crossing of swords, and then eventually Maximus disarms Commodus. Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Commodus does get one decent swing at him, but come on, it wasn't going to be life threatening, unlike the knife in the side of him. You know. Maximus disarms Commodus, and when Commodus asks for a sword, the Praetorian Guard says no, pretty much. And then produces this like hidden knife, you know, to try to kill him again. Except this time Maximus gets the upper hand and basically drives it into Commodus' throat, killing him. In the process, though, obviously, Maximus succumbs to his wounds, but before he dies, he asks for political reform, for his gladiators to be freed, for Senator Gracchus to be reinstated, and basically for this stuff to go back to the Senate, as were the wishes of Marcus Aurelius. Mm-hmm. And at the behest of Lucilla, his body is carried out of the arena as a soldier of Rome and leaving the dead Commodus behind. At the end of this movie,
Juba is a great shot of Juba that wraps the movie up. Juba does visit the Colosseum at night and buries the figurines, which was a really strong, beautiful send-off to the movie. Buries the figurines of Maximus' wife and his son at the spot where he died. And Juba does promise his Maximus spirit that he'll see him again, but not yet.
Right.
And that's how the movie wraps up.
And you know what? Overall, for how this movie wraps up, it's very peaceful, because another thing that's not really talked about with this movie that's really powerful is the music to this. Like oh my god, like it's just playing on this, you know, doing all that, but it's hitting like a peaceful moment for a guy who basically sacrificed his life to his empire, you know, and just wanted a peaceful life, you know. But of course, people can't have their way. That's the struggle of white people. Jay, that's our struggle right here. You guys can't go jogging without getting shot from us. We can't have our own peace. Which, by the way, fuck those guys. Seriously,
those guys.
The worst actually happens to them. I can't believe that.
And not even to bring the mood down, but I have first. Well, obviously, the world first learned about that situation literally yesterday. But for that to be, you know, something that has now taken over the news to the point where this man was killed 2 months ago. We're just now finding out about this.
I know.
Because now there's video. But I'm with you. Just keep our upbeat thing going. Fuck those guys. I hope you get the worst possible punishment thrown your way, and it's gonna come regardless. So going back to some much more happier things. That's what we do here. Back to the classics. Takeaways. Who's getting your That Guy award?
It will go to Maximus. Maximus Decimus. You know, all that. Russell Crowe really gives the acting performance of his career up until that point, because I do believe he does better in he does better in A Beautiful Mind, but that's kind of a hit or miss movie for a lot of people. He is the epitome of kind of what you want in a leader. You know, he's cool, he's calm, he leads his people to the right things. He's merciful when he absolutely needs to be, and he's deadly when he absolutely needs to be as well. You know. you take all that into account, and you just kind of say, you know what, it's it's a difficult thing to kind of to try to get a crowd to love you while also trying to make the right decisions in your own life and your own career.
That chick award.
It will go to Connie Nielsen. Lucilla, I know that we haven't really talked about her, but the reality is that in her role in this movie, if she's not in a senator's ear or not in Commodus' ear, she's hitting on Maximus. You know, and because apparently they had a thing way back when. But she does a really good job of trying to be the strong personality to this and try to be the I guess you could say the spider in the web itself. You know, trying to make sure that everything is kind of kept in its own places there.
That full award.
Easily Commodus, like, bro. Commodus is the epitome of the tyrant king, you know, and there's not a lot of positive things to say about. I can understand the desire of being like, I thought this was going to be mine. Why is this no longer mine? Why is it when it's my chance to finally rule something, you wish to take it away from me? You know, when you're born with that silver spoon fed. But for the most part, no, he is a fool. You know, he's jealous. He's jealous of a general. You know, and not only is he jealous of a general, but he's jealous to the point where he can't constantly think straight on this stuff. So it's it'll definitely go to Commodus.
Cut that out.
There's a scene that I don't necessarily like talking about because it's weird. Like, Commodus' whole relationship with his sister is to the point of ancestral. Not that they've actually done anything, because it's implied that they haven't, but man, it wasn't like he wasn't shooting his shot. It wasn't like he wasn't trying. Lay down with me, sister. No.
I mean,
no.
Is it weird right now?
Why not pay for one? You own Rome. You own Rome.
In the year 2020, it's gross.
Spread the gene pool out, buddy.
What is mental retardation? We don't know what that is yet. Iconic scene.
It would definitely be the reveal of Maximus to Commodus, because it's so badass. Like everything about it. It's just basically like, I'm here. This is me officially taking back my vengeance. You have the right to kill me whenever you decide to do so, but I will make sure that I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. It's so strong of a moment that you can't help but root for Maximus at that point. Like, yeah, man, this is what's up. You know,
damn it, yeah.
Who's going to do that guy award?
That guy award is going to go to Maximus, most definitely. This is his story. Russell Crowe does an amazing job. Now I'm with you as far as the performance up to that point. For me, I do prefer LA Confidential a bit more, just like you do. But Gladiator is a fantastic movie for a great performance by Russell Crowe. Definitely, he earned his Oscar for sure. Now, the way he carries on this character and how he shows the strength of Maximus, and it shows how Maximus was not going down without a fight, and he yearned for that vengeance until he got it. So hats off to Russell Crowe, man. I love Maximus in this movie.
Right, and then even after he got his vengeance, mind you, he was dying anyway, but he had no interest in playing this role of like, now I'm the emperor, now I'm going to be the tyrant. No, it didn't feel that way. It felt like he was genuinely like, shit's fucked up. We got to fix this. This is how we fix this. Let's move on.
Right. Exactly.
And then I'm going to go away for a while. That's that. Who's going to do that chick award?
That chick award would I'll go ahead and give it to Connie Nielsen because she's the only chick in here. But for the most part, she does play that spider to the web kind of situation. And she's in other words, we're the voice of reason, you know, in a lot of cases when it comes to certain situations. We didn't really talk about her that much, but she's definitely played great for sure. And, I'm going to give it to Connie Nielsen.
Yeah, Connie is just this is Maximus's story, but I'm sure that she's obviously had, strong moments in herself and looked like and obviously felt like she would be a much better emperor than Commodus ever would be. Which goes to our That Fool Award. Who's getting you That Fool Award?
That Fool Award will obviously go to Commodus, the bitch boy himself. And as much as I love Joaquin Phoenix and almost everything he does, because the thing about Joaquin Phoenix is no matter which role he takes on, he puts his whole entire soul into that role. Whether it was Joker, her, the Master, you name it, he really does put his all into his roles. So the fact is, I really looked at him like, you are a bitch boy. I mean, in every sense of the word, because you provided that performance for me to really dislike you, and also knowing the fact that he's going to pull something real slick like stabbing Maximus before their fight. Like, yeah, that's something a bitch boy would do. It's not too far from your character. So yeah, but as much as I hate that character, he's played beautifully by Joaquin Phoenix. So he gave a performance to where I'm supposed to hate you, and I do.
He's actually a well-written villain if you think about it. Like everything about him, you just you despise almost, and because of that, it wasn't that you cared about despising him. You cared about hating him because, well, that's how well written he was. That's why like when everybody talks about like King Joffrey, in Game of Thrones, it's like, yeah, man, no, I hate the king, I hate King Joffrey. It's like, yeah, but he's also well written for being so hated.
Right. I mean, if the ultimate idea is for me to hate this character, job well done, because I can't fucking stand him. Like I look for it. I'm counting down to when this character sees his demise. You know what I mean? Because he's done so much ill shit getting to this point. I cannot wait to see you eat it. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Cut that out.
Cut that out. I'm gonna go with you as well. I was uncomfortable with the whole Commodus trying to bang his sister thing. It wasn't needed.
Right.
But I also felt like it was written to still kind of push forth the agenda of Commodus is just a bad dude, and I think just to add to things that will make you kind of be disgusted at this character, let's have him try to fuck your sister. Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, I definitely feel like it was absolutely unneeded. At this point, I already don't like Commodus when this is introduced. Mm-hmm. Why is this a thing? Why is this one of those things that's like, I have a problem with incest side stories. Right. like they're generally considered not a good idea. It was like, okay, you remember the movie The Judge?
Yes, I do.
Yes, with Duvall and Downey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they have like this side story. First of all, they already make Duvall not likable in this movie at all. But then they have this like side story of like possible incest, and it was kind of played like tongue in cheek. Mm. Every single time it appeared, I was like, dude, I'm not laughing at this. There's nothing. I'm not laughing at incest. Like
incest is not funny. I don't know a time when it ever was. You know what I mean? But it's played for laughs. It's weird.
When it's played for horror, that's when it gets better. Mm-hmm. But playing it for laughs, no. Yeah,
that's wild. That's wild.
No. Or in Shock, in like the movie Old Boy, right? Spoiler.
Yeah. Right.
Finally, iconic scene.
Iconic scene. As you were doing yours, I was really like kind of debating with myself what my iconic scene would be. And obviously, it was going to be between the two fights, and I'm going to land on the Tigress fight as my iconic scene, even though the reveal of Maximus to Commodus is so badass. Like, just that moment that he takes to let you know, like, yes, I am here, and I'm on your ass. I promise you. Before this whole thing is done, I'm on you. It's the fight and how the fight plays out between the guy between Tigress and the Tigers. I love that shit. It was so cool. It was cool back then when I first seen it. It's still super cool now because the camera work, the choreography. When you're watching these tigers practically rip these men's faces off, you're left, you're left with that ooh response. You know what I mean? So, and I'm telling you, even though the one that jumps on Maximus, he's able to stab one to kind of get him off him, and he dies before being killed. It's that edge of your seat feeling that you feel when the other tiger just barely misses Maximus. I mean, just barely misses him when he takes that claw. He takes his paw and he swings it at him. Just barely misses him. And to this day, that scene still has me like, ooh, I can't be up there. I would have shit myself a long time ago. That's to me, that's the iconic scene for me. I love it. It's a great scene.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Get into some quick hits because this movie has a lot of really fun ones. When I was looking this up, I was like, oh wow, this is actually like one of my favorite quick hits I go through. So 5 tigers were brought in for the scene in the arena where Maximus fights Tiger Seagal. A veterinarian armed with tranquilizer darts was present the entire time. For safety's sake, Russell Crowe was kept at least 15 feet away from the tigers.
Joaquin Phoenix ad-libbed his scream of, "Am I not merciful?" Connie Nielsen wasn't expecting it, and her frightened reaction was genuine.
The wounds. So I'm going to do this way. So the wounds on Russell Crowe's face after the opening battle scene are real, caused when his horse was startled, backed him into tree branches. The stitches in his cheek are clearly visible when he is telling Commodus he intends to return home.
Wow. Connie Nielsen found the 2,000-year-old signet ring she wears in the movie in an antique store.
Yeah, that's actually insane. Over the course of the gladiatorial scenes, Russell Crowe lost all feeling in his right forefinger for 2 years after a sword fight, aggravated an Achilles tendon injury, broke a foot bone, cracked a hip bone, and popped a few bicep tendons out of their sockets.
Damn.
Right?
Damn.
What I was saying.
Talk about method acting. You're like, no, give me all that good shit. Joaquin Phoenix was incredibly nervous on set and would ask Russell Crowe to rough him up before the big scene together so he could psych himself up. Crowe was at a loss and went to Sir Richard Harris for advice. Mike, what are we going to do with this kid? He's asking me to abuse him before takes. He said. Harris thought for a while and then replied, let's get him pissed. Over the course of several hours and several pints of Guinness later, Crowe and Harris relaxed their co-star.
Very solid. The real life Commodus. I'm gonna kind of combine these two. The real life Commodus was the only Roman emperor in the history to fight as a gladiator in the arena. He was actually known as the gladiator emperor, as he would routinely appear in the arena to take down wild animals. He charged Rome an exorbitant amount of money for each appearance, which eventually devalued Roman coins and led to the fall of Rome. He would often take people with missing limbs or other disabilities into the arena, tie them together, and club them to death. Initially revered for his hunting and combat prowess, the populace quickly turned against him. Now, there was another thing. He did not actually die in the arena. He was actually strangled in his dressing room by an athlete named Narcissus.
Well, that's our quick hits, and so many more we can go through with this, because this movie the production factor of this movie is fantastic. I mean, it's certain things like to know that Russell Crowe took that ass beating literally during production. Shout out to you, man. But with that being said, though, damn good movie. I could watch this again and again and again and still be thoroughly entertained.
This could be a movie that I actually wind up watching probably once a year. Now, giving it a proper rewatch this time, I'm like, you know what? This is actually a pretty solid movie.
Word. Danger Neff, where can they find you?
You can always find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at David Danger Neff. I'm the co-host here at Back to the Classic, so you can always find me here. Of course, there are other things that we were talking about bringing in together. But as we kind of move forward with 2 Minute Drill Live, we're going to see what the opportunities kind of does there. The real quick, there is also an official Back to the Classics Facebook page, not just the Facebook. You can actually look at BTTC Podcast. Search for that. Search for that for Facebook page. I invited a whole bunch of people to go ahead and get in there, so we have I don't know about 60 people in there right now. I'd like to try to get that to grow and see if we can get to about 1,000 by the end of this year. My guy, Jay Alonso, where can they find you?
You can find me sitting right here in my living room, writing and running 3 different shows. But ultimately, you can find me on all the social media simply at I am Jay Alonso. That's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. You talk to me and I'll talk back. Of course, like Dave mentioned, the Back to Classics Movie Talk group on Facebook is up and popping. Go ahead and jump on there and join the conversation. We'd love to have you. As well as Spoiling the Classics, also a movie talk group on Facebook. Jump on in there and join the conversation as well. What else? Follow Back to Classics on Instagram at BTTC Podcast. And follow us on Facebook now at BTTC Podcast as well. My other show, Turn My Mic Up, a hip-hop conversation, it's coming back soon. Don't worry about it. I'll be getting a lot of emails and messages about when we're going to do another one. I know the Drake album is out. We're going to get together soon and talk about it, hopefully soon. And also, like we said, look out for the official premiere day of season 1 of 2 Minute Drill Live. We cannot wait to keep this thing going for you guys. Thank you guys so much for your love and your support. And hell, just playing along, man. We love it so much. And of course, without a doubt, Back to Classics is going nowhere. So we will be back next week with another one for you. With that being said, this is Back to Classics. Shout out to my guy, Danger Neff over there. I'll see you soon.
I hope so. I can't wait to
face
get to the studio.
Me neither. This is. At first, I enjoyed it. I was like, "Fuck."
No, I'm like, I want to see people. I want to see friends.
What's my friends? But this is Back to Classics, you guys. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for joining us once again. We'll see you guys next week. I am Jay Alonso. With me, of course, is
Danger Neff.
See y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.